right? Who's overvalued, who's undervalued. And let's start at the quarterback position. I just want to go over a few names, Tyler, because I feel like, with these names, it's easy to there's names that we know in the community, but sometimes we don't always know their value. We just go, if it's not you and I, whoever's watching might just go with ADP, right? And wonder, why is this person down there? One of the players that's outside of the top 15 quarterbacks and slowly creeping up, Dak Prescott. And obviously with the addition of George Pickens, things are going to start to come up for Dak. But I have serious questions about why Dak Prescott is not ranked in the top 12. Now, I get it. He's missed time and injuries have been a thing. And obviously this offense is going to change. Kellen Moore is out. Mike McCarthy's out. So things are going to be different for Dallas. The offensive line's not very good. But when you got CeeDee Lamb and now you have George Pickens, you also have Jake Ferguson returning. He was banged up a little bit last year. Like, this team is going to be much more gifted offensively. Not to mention, they ain't got no running back. You got Javonte Williams and Jadon Blue and Miles Sanders. Like, this backfield isn't anything to write home about. So we know Dak can be a 5,000-yard passer. We know Dak has multiple weapons. He can use deep downfield. He can use his target hog and CeeDee Lamb. Why is that going outside of the top 12 quarterbacks when typically he's a top 5 quarterback when it's all said and done?
He's one of my favorite values right now. Honestly, I love where Dak is going. I will say there's also just a lot of quarterbacks that go in that range that if I don't get Dak, it's okay because I can land with like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert. The one thing I will say, and you kind of mentioned this as well, is that I feel like he'll go higher than where he's currently going right now. As the preseason progresses and more and more people get into drafting, I definitely think his ADP will creep up. I've already seen it start to creep up on Underdog. So I think it will just continue to creep up. But yeah, like there's a lot of back end QB1s that I like. Drake May, even like Bo Nix, there's other guys in this mix that have potential, but I like Dak Prescott a lot especially in best ball drafts right now, because he's very easy to stack with some of that Dallas offense that's kind of underappreciated. And we see this all the time when guys are coming off of injuries. They always kind of get pushed down the board, but like I'd feel much better about Dak coming off of an injury compared to other guys like skill position players coming off an injury, just because it's important for the quarterback position, but not as important as, lower body injury for a wide receiver. So definitely a guy that I like targeting in a one quarterback league. I would be A-okay with him being my QB1 for the season because, like you said, we know the potential. Just a couple years ago, I believe he was quarterback 3 in the season. So the upside's there for Dak.
The thing is, it's like with Dak, what's really the risk? Like when you talk about Trevor Lawrence or Anthony Richardson or some of these other players in the middle of the, like the QB2 conversation, it's like, oh, we know why, because the risk is there, right? Like they don't perform. They're erratic with their throws. They're more mobile than they are touchdown throwers. It's like with Dak, we know he's a 4,500 to 5,000 yard passer. We know he's going to be somewhere around 30 touchdowns. And that's kind of like the floor. Like outside of injury, it's like the offensive weapons have really changed for Dak. So why are we pushing him so far down the door? It really doesn't make sense to me because I think Dak is just one of those names we're tired of. And he's starting to go into that old heads category when they become old in fantasy. We don't like taking them no more.
Well, and quarterback doesn't matter that much for age. Like he still has a little bit to go. One other thing too is just I feel like it's because he's the Cowboy. Like I hate the Cowboys, but I also think a lot of people kind of take their hate for teams a little bit too far, and Cowboys are just one of the most hated teams. So he just kind of gets that hate just because he's the Dallas Cowboy, which I don't care for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the Cowboys, but I'll still take Dak.
I'll take him. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to win your league, and last year a league winner, Bo Nix. He was a league winning type quarterback. You got him for free at the end of the drafts. And shout out to anybody who was able to pick him up, or even if you had him in Dynasty and you had the wherewithal to go get him. Like Bo Nix had an incredible season last year. Now going in the top 10 quarterbacks. Obviously, mobile showed promise last year. Team added weapons, got Pat Bryant this offseason, Evan Ingram this offseason. So adding weapons, and then obviously in the draft got a running back to complement things in RJ Harvey. So Sean Payton really putting together here a nice setup for Bo Nix to come into year 2, where I ain't gonna lie, Tyler, we often see sophomore slumps or a little bit of regression, and everybody just assumes they're gonna make the next leap up. How are you feeling about Bo Nix? Because I do have some concerns about him in year 2.
Yeah, he's just a guy that uh, I don't find myself drafting a whole lot just because, once again, there's just that group of quarterbacks. Like Drake May goes after him. I'd rather just take my shot on Drake May. What Bo Nix did last year, though, is he did offer that rushing upside that I don't know if a whole lot of people were anticipating him offering. 400. He had 430 rushing yards last year. So that is there. And then he also had 29 passing touchdowns, which, was pretty good for a rookie quarterback. Like that, I don't even want to say pretty good. That's very good for a rookie quarterback. So I think that there's obviously you could say that, yes, he could have a sophomore slump, but you could also turn around and say, hey, he could only get better from here. Now, he's an older quarterback. He was 24. So now he's 25. So you have to consider, like, how much does he continue to progress and get better each and every single year because he's already an older quarterback. And then also, like, yes, they added Pat Bryant, but I didn't really like Pat Bryant a whole lot in the offseason.
That's a whole other combo right there, huh?
And then you also have, like, didn't add really. I like Evan Ingram, but, like, you still didn't really add much to this wide receiver room. Like, Cortland Sutton's getting older. I think he's 29 or 30 years old. He was very good last year. Don't get me wrong. I want to say good last year. But, like, there's just not a whole lot.
Marvin Mims, like, they're building that core out.
Troy Franklin. Like, it's just a whole lot of guys that I don't feel good about. One guy I do really like. I love Evan Ingram for where he's currently going. And also the other thing with Bo Nix is, like, he had the highest check down rate amongst all quarterbacks in the NFL last year. Now, maybe this is just what Sean Payton wants, but a very low yards per attempt and a low check down rate. I'm okay with drafting him, but there's just other guys that I prefer that I think have shown their true upside or intriguing upside than Bo Nix. So he's all right.
We've seen it, like, over the last couple of years, like, the quarterback position has been really top heavy, right? You get Lamar, you get Josh Allen, like, you get the heavy hitters. And then a lot of it is kind of this middle round of who's healthy. And, like, Bo Nix was healthy when you're talking about a Drake May who didn't play till later, or Trevor Lawrence who got banged up throughout the year. Kyler Murray was, inefficient at times coming off of his injury. So Dak Prescott got hurt last year. Sometimes it's about who plays the 17 games. And I think Bo Nix, who, like you said, had a great rookie year, I think he kind of fell into that category of, like, all right, I played all the games, so that's why I'm a top 10 quarterback. I'm not taking anything away from the kid, but I do think when you start to bring in some of those other names now that we're talking about, and you really start to think, okay, like, can Brock Purdy be better than he was last year? Can Caleb Williams take the next step up? Is Jordan Love or CJ Stroud going to be up there? Trevor Lawrence, like Drake May. We talked about all these names that are kind of right there with Bo Nix in terms of potential floor ceiling. They're just going way after him. Those are guys that are going outside of the top 12. So I think a guy like Tua, who we're taking in the top 12, has just as much potential several rounds after you have to take a guy like Bo Nix. So I think when it comes to value, sometimes that's the most intriguing things. And would it surprise you to see a guy like Cam Ward have a nice rookie season in comparison to Bo Nix? No, it wouldn't. Like, we've seen it.
Jay McCarthy.
Yeah, or even him. And it's just like, at some point, like, I think it's good to value a guy like Bo Nix and respect him for what he did, but to push him up the draft board so much, he's going right after, like, a Patrick Mahomes type player, which is
the only thing that I will say is just the rushing upside. Like, he did show that rushing upside that you want in a quarterback.
400 yards, 500 yards,
400 yards, which is nice. That's very nice to have for a quarterback. So that's one reason why I'm okay with taking some of those other guys. But once again, my boy Drake May had more rushing yards than he did last year, and he played, I think, only in 12 games, 13 games.
Just so y'all know, I think there's a quota that Tyler comes in with, and he says, I have to say Drake May or Jamar Chase a certain amount of times.
I haven't said Jamar Chase yet. Yeah, Drake May's had 13 games.